Hey everybody, Taco here. Rule one, don't go splat. I came out to the wives' she shed tonight. We had Hurricane Helene come through South Carolina yesterday. Thankfully, I'm far enough east, which sounds weird, that I didn't have any issues with Hurricane Helene. We did get a day off work, which was nice, but otherwise, 20 miles an hour winds, maybe 3.5 inches of rain. I did get to play with my ham radio, which I thought was a lot of fun. I got to check in on Hurricane WatchNet, so that was interesting. I've only done that one other time from inside a tropical storm, but the mountains that I usually go hiking at are the Irwin, Tennessee, and some of the other places are just really suffering right now. So if you're paramotoring in the upstate of South Carolina or on into the North Carolina Tennessee border, if you're a pilot that lives up there, I hope everything's going okay with you. Not only with your piloting, but with your house and with your town and job and everything. So it can be really devastating, and there's some awful news coming out of there. So I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about where I've come from and where I'm going with all the paramotor stuff. It's been a long, strange trip so far. From that time in February of 2023 when I first started placing my order for my Iris Infinity. The people at Iris have been great the whole time. I've really enjoyed their equipment, and some of the adventures I've had from getting it in that box the first time and putting it together. I think I put it together in the parking lot of the Governor's School for Science and Mathematics here in South Carolina. I know I at least unboxed part of it in the parking lot at like midnight after leaving a job. So it has been a long, strange trip. Had a lot of fun with it. My goal Sunday is actually to go out to the airport. I'm really hoping it's not too windy, but if it is, I'm going to go over some of the things that I've learned about the Iris. I think it's a great paramotor. It's the best paramotor I've ever flown. It's the only paramotor I've ever flown, but I really enjoy it. A couple of things about it that maybe could use a little bit of tweaking in my mind, but hey, I've only flown 10 times, so I'm going to go over that. I hope. I got a new not a new Insta360, but I made a selfie stick adaptation for the Insta360 that I think is going to help me feel a lot better about sticking it up under my leg like some of y'all do on the videos. So I just wanted to go through a little bit and talk about where I came from. Well, in February of 2023, I bought and unboxed my Iris, and I was so glad to have it. And then after that, it just kind of sat around. I didn't put fuel in it for a while, and it kind of sat around. And I finally was able to do a hang test and some actual like simulator time with Brooke Sheffield at Pinnacle Paramotor. I went to see him a few times. I didn't keep going up there though. One of the things that I probably should have done is kept up with Brooke. No problem with Brooke. Brooke is a great guy. He's got a great place up there at Marietta, South Carolina, and I think he has another airfield. But the one I know him from is Marietta. Great guy. It's just such a long trip. It's like 3.5 hours out, and then training, for the day, and then turn around 3.5 hours back. It was just such a long trip. And at one point, I even considered giving up and selling my stuff. And that was about probably September of 2023. I really considered stopping and selling. In fact, I had told him to sell my paramotor stuff, and then thankfully, he didn't get a chance to, and he stuck it in the warehouse and held on to it for me. And a friend of mine said he was going to buy it. So I went up there, I got it, and I brought it back home. And then lo and behold, I can't remember what happened. He had to back out at the last minute. I do remember that. He had to back out at the last minute. And Um, so I wound up kind of stuck with it, and then probably 3 weeks later, I was getting back into it. At this stage in my life, I'm almost 52. At this stage in my life, if I give it up, I would. There was no way I would ever get back into it. It's too late. Um, I think my first flight was in November of 23. I did a lot of kiting on my own. I did a lot of walking around with the motor running in a soccer field, to the great humor of some of the people that work at one of the recreational fields where I live. So I did a lot of that, following Mark Amundsen's 4 pinnacles of paramotoring. I don't even remember what they are now. Kiting, practicing with the motor, doing simulator, and then there's one more that I don't remember. But I did a lot of that. The 4 pillars of paramotoring that I learned watching his YouTube video was really kind of important, and I think it helped me out. Another thing that helped me out a lot was YouTube itself, because I would post videos that you all have watched, I hope. I would post videos and people would come back and say, no, you're not kiting it right. You're holding on to the A's too long, or you're not running fast enough, or check your trims, like all sorts of stuff. The paramotor community was really, really helpful with me being able to get off the ground. Stupidly without an instructor. I know, don't train yourself. It was a lot of stuff was going on where I can't get away for 10 days. At the time I started learning, I just didn't have vacation time. And then of course the wife isn't going to want to go down to Florida to Aviator, which is where I probably would have gone. The wife wasn't going to want to go to Aviator for 8 to 10 days and just have nothing to do while I play in the sky. She probably would have spent more at Disney World than I would have spent paramotoring. So that would have been bad too. Anyway, so I don't suggest learning the way I did if you can avoid it. Nothing I do on here, of course, is flight instruction. I talk a lot on stuff that I'm doing, but it's more of an explanation of what I'm doing and maybe even why, but don't take it as flight instruction. You can watch me paramotoring, you can watch me kiting, you can watch any of the YouTubers kiting and flying, but that's not the greatest way to learn. You really need some feedback, and I think getting the feedback from the YouTube people and getting feedback from people direct messaging me on my phone, different instructors, I think that was a big help with actually getting me at least as far as I am now. So where am I now? I'm 10 flights in, and I promised somebody earlier that I would do a retrospective on what it was like. Well, my first flight was actually not even intended to be a flight. It was sort of an oh shit moment. I had a really good wind directly down the runway. I was just going to do some power taxiing, and I'd done a little bit before, getting the wing up with the motor on my back and just kind of running with it, and even having the motor run a little bit. And so I'd done a little bit of power taxiing, and then finally, I think it was November 5th, if I remember right. So I get the wing up, and I did a reverse, which I thought was great, because people talk about reverse launches being hard to do. I did a reverse on my first launch without an instructor even being there. Again, dumb as hell, but I can't go back and change it. It's done. So yeah, I spin around, I reversed, kite the thing up, spin around, gave it some gas. I'm like, oh, this feels good. And finally I was just like, I'm going to go for it. It didn't stick to the plan at all. Just took off. Came down, could not get my glide scope right. Really, really needed somebody standing there helping me to talk me in. Could not get the glide scope right, and I landed way short. But I didn't hurt myself, and I didn't bend up anything. Second flight was sort of the same. I intended to take off the second time, had a decent amount of wind, took off, came around, and if you've seen that one, that's the one where I kind of face plant. I come in really short again, and I face plant. Didn't hurt anything, except my ego. And then the next several were not that bad. Third or fourth, I had an engine out, but that was it was something that could not have been seen on a pre-flight. You know, it took me a while to find the actual cable problem, kill switch wire. So my third or I think it was my fourth flight, and thankfully I like flying high because there's plenty of time to mess around and figure out exactly what's going on without being too low. So I like flying high, and so that's what I did. I flew up high, just kind of messing around, and then when the engine quit, it was like, oh, no big deal. You know, I'm at 3,500 feet above the ground. I got 15 minutes to figure this out, and that's what I did. I figured it out, and I got back to the airport. Long about my seventh flight, let's see, I did start to get a little complacent with my takeoffs. And I think the problem was originally when I would run a long time, my arms would start to tire out, and then I would pull brake and take off. Like my fifth or sixth flight, I run, and I got my hands all wet. And I never pulled brake. And when I was absolutely running at the top speed I could, I just picked my feet up and dumped my paramotor on the ground and tore up the prop. So again, rookie mistake, seventh flight or so, I can't remember. And then finally, the next one or two after that was my crash when I was flying too late in the daytime, and that really, really sucked. That was an expensive error. And thankfully, though, I was able to get the people at Iris to help me out and get back in the air. And my last two flights have been... my last flight was really short, but it felt good. And it was probably my best no to low wind landing ever. I had a really great landing on number 3. I did. It felt good. I came in. Had there been no wind on landing 3, it would have been nasty. Because I was leaning back too much. I wasn't prepared to run, but there was enough wind in my face that when I touched down, I just came to a complete stop. So had there been no wind, I probably would have skid to a stop on my thighs again, like I like to do, or my calves. That's why I wear long pants when I paramotor, so I don't skin my legs up on the grass. One of these days I'm gonna land on a cactus and really start practicing my landings. But so number three was okay, but the wind helped me. But this last one, number 10, the landing was just, I was overjoyed with it, except the fact I didn't run. I took about 4 steps and stopped. The glider fell in front of me, but you know, that's where I am. Flight number 9, I think, was the most glorious. That was, and I didn't post the whole thing because I don't want the FAA yelling at me. The flight number 9 was one where I flew on a slightly cloudy day with a friend of mine, who's been really encouraging me to fly, and every time the weather's good, he's like, "Hey, can you go out?" And I want to fly a lot more with somebody else. It was so much fun. But we flew around the clouds, and I accidentally got caught up in a cloud layer. There was a little layer of fog, and then a high layer, and then somewhere in the middle, you just couldn't see it. It didn't show up, really. It kind of blended together, and suddenly I was in clouds. And I hear all these horrible things about private pilots, you know, Cessna guys and Mooney guys, unintentional flight into, it's unintentional visual flight into instrument meteorological conditions. In other words, I flew into something I can't see in. And I hear about all these horror stories about it, but all I did was, I was like, oh crap, I'm in clouds. And I let off the throttle so I would start coming down below the cloud layer because I knew where the cloud layer was. And I just pulled a little, I don't even know if I pulled brake or if I weight shifted. But I did a nice, like, really slow turn. And then when I thought I was going to come out, I just went hands off the controls, let the glider do its thing, and just came in below the cloud layer. And it was beautiful. And so I didn't mean to do it, but I don't want to post that whole flight because we're not supposed to fly in clouds. So it's not going up. It's going to be, I posted part of it, but the part where I'm in the clouds, it's going to have to stay in the cloud. Just a cautionary measure, I guess. So where am I? Okay, so first 10 flights are down, and this is going on a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. Apologize for that. Of course, you all don't have to watch it. Where am I going next? Well, I'm up to 341 subscribers. Yay! If I get to 500, I think there's like a bonus or something from YouTube. I get to have like memberships or something. I'm not really interested in that. All I wanted to do to start this thing out was really just kind of say, hey, here's where I'm going. Here's how somebody comes from flying drones to flying paramotors if you've never done it before. So where am I going next? Well, let's see. We got some more flights to do. I want to get up to, I want to hit flight number 20. And as part of that, I need to get a lot better at my spot landing. So I need to do more landing practice. Instead of taking off and flying around for an hour and landing one time, I just need to take off and come around and do 4 or 5 landings, touch and goes or complete stop landings, whatever. I need to do a lot of that. And I started playing with that on my last flight. I did come in kind of low over the runway, not as low as I had planned, but I came in kind of low over the runway, and I was really, just practicing straight and level, because it's hard to know if you're flying straight and level if you're at 3,000 feet. So I came in at like 250 feet, 300 feet over the runway, nice and trying to keep straight and level. And so that's what I'm going to do some more of, practicing low down, at an airfield where if the motor quits, I can land. I'm going to come in and do a lot more like spot landings. There's a good couple of burn patches in the runway for whatever reason, or bare spots. And I'm going to aim for those. So there's a lot more like spot landing practice I need to do. Maybe even landing out at another airfield. Going over to, there's a couple of airfields close by. Within like 10 miles. I could fly out, land, turn around, come back. Getting used to, I'm not really worried about pilotage or anything like that yet, because I'm not doing a lot of long cross countries. I do want to hit my 10,000 foot goal. That's one thing I've wanted to do since I've started this, is get up to 10,000 feet. I want to be able to see the beach, or at least the ocean from the house. That would be so awesome. I want to get back up and fly with Brooke up at Marietta. So I do want to take some cross-country trips, but maybe not in the paramotor, load it up in my car and drive somewhere else and fly from a different field, especially with an instructor like Brooke who can, help me out, maybe give me some pointers. But really, that's where I'm at. More landing practice, spot landing practice, a little bit more cross-country and pilotage stuff, but not so much yet. Stick around the home airfield, and then just try to start building some of those paramotor skills. Anyway, hopefully Sunday I can go out to the airport. This has been almost 20 minutes, so hopefully Sunday I can go out to the airport, and I'll give either go flying, or if not, I'll give you a good overview of the Iris Infinity and what I found with it so far, and what I like, and a couple of things that I think could be better, at least for me. Maybe not for every paramotor pilot, but a couple of things that could be better for me. And then, hell, I'll show you my improvised selfie stick and shock cord. I found a little piece that I think is really going to help me with that. Anyway, it's running up on 20 minutes, so remember, whatever you do, rule 1, don't go splat.